Life brings many problems. Some we cannot change, and others where change is possible. Whenever I find myself stuck in a situation, the first thing I try to change is myself. Whatever life throws at me, I can change my perspective by asking two questions. What am I grateful for? What do I hope for? The first question about gratitude reminds me that my current problem is not all there is. It widens my view. I have a history of blessings and resources. I have strengths on which I can rely. Asking about hope leads to possible outcomes. And once I know where I want to go, I can make a plan. And once I have a plan, I no longer feel powerless to act. This strategy of gratitude and hope has helped me in my 27 years of ministry. But it started in a strange way. A woman at my first congregation laughed at my computer. She said, "This will never do. You need more than a word processor. This is 1996 after all. You need to be on the internet. Join the World Wide Web. This is a congregation of government workers, and we all work for the federal government, and we all have our own web page, and we all have our own email address. You got to get on the ball." And arrows.com was the local favorite server. It was the second most popular after that upstart across the Potomac River called AOL or something like that. Arrows had a small shop in the suburbs north of D.C., and it was run by a man named Errol. I mean, the internet was new. You hooked up to a jack in the wall, and each hookup started with a screech and a whirl of beeps until the screen came to life. My ministry was beginning, and it was a brave new world. I was ready to communicate, but there were new rules to learn. When writing an email, the formality of a standard letter that I learned how to write very politely in grade school just didn't seem to apply. How can I begin with "Dear everyone"? You know, dear is such an intimate word, and for a mass email, it just sounded way too false. And sincerely is how I ended letters. Because, love was, again, too intimate, especially having just gotten through seminary and learned about all those boundaries that one must maintain as a minister. I wasn't going to tell everybody I loved them with every message. They might be misinterpreted. But sincerely just seems so crushingly businesslike and formal. I said, I can't do that. Occasionally I used blessings, but some of the humanists in my congregation thought that was just too spiritual. And I still use it from time to time because what it really indicates is that I'm grateful for the blessings that I have received, and I hope that I can be a blessing to other people. So, after periods of trial and error, I settled on "with gratitude and hope." Slightly formal, yet warm. Both sacred and secular. As a young minister, I worried about a lot of little things. how I wrote an email was something that seminary had not prepared me for. With gratitude and hope was a small solution to a small problem. But it's become a way of life. So imagine my surprise when I was preparing for last week's sermon, and I found out that my little internet tagline might become part of the Unitarian Universalist Association defining statement known as Article 2. The UU plans to list 6 values that emerge from our central value of love. And one of these is generosity, which is defined as follows. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. Well, gosh, I know that's a different definition of generosity than what I'm used to. I mean, when I hear the word generosity, I think of charity, giving to those less fortunate. Or I think of donating, like donating to a worthy cause. And another word for generosity is sharing, as in, I hope to share generous portions at this Thanksgiving potluck we have scheduled. Generous generally just means giving. But instead, the UUA definition is we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. It gets to what's underneath the giving and the donating and the charity. First, it defines generosity as something we do, a spirit that we cultivate. We prepare our souls to be generous. Our hardened hearts need to be tilled, softened so we can plant seeds of love. We need to weed out the doubts and distrust that stifle generosity. To cultivate a decision each present moment, we must decide on how we interpret the past. Will we be resentful or grateful? And in each present moment, we decide how we will look at the future. Will we despair or will we hope? If we are resentful, we will not feel the impulse to give. If we despair, we'll say, what the use? I mean, if we're resentful, we say, well, I had it tough. Why should other people get it easy? I had to pay off my student loans. Why should others get a break? But having it tough might also generate gratitude. I paid my student loans, but the whole process seemed unfair. I was fortunate to be able to pay them off because I graduated into an economy that had a job that was enough to pay off the college loans, plus college cost less as a proportion of wage back in the 80s than it does now. And there wasn't a whole system of predatory loans based on the business model that many people will not graduate college and still have these outstanding loans. There's a whole industry that does all the calculations of who they're going to victimize. So I'm grateful that none of this happened to me. And I realize that things are different today for younger children, young adults. Gratitude allows me to be generous. And how does hope allow me to be generous? Hope assures me of the possibility of growth. I want young people to be free of the burdens of debt. If they thrive, society will thrive. Hope makes one willing to take risks. I have survived every bad day that I ever had. There is not one bad day that has killed me yet. That's pretty hopeful for today. Of course, anybody who has invested knows that past performance is no guarantee of future outcome. I've probably learned more from the bad days than I have from the good days. Hope is the wisdom of knowing that life is full of grace. Although life has hardships, it has unexpected blessings. Where there is life, there is hope. And for some people, there is even hope for an afterlife when a loved one dies. And even if one doesn't have that hope, in the midst of one's grief, one has a hope of incorporating those memories into your life and passing them on to other people, telling those stories, and finding a new way to live. Hope says take your chances. One may hope that this congregation comes up with creative solutions for the changes that are to come. The hope one may choose to donate. You can look for something in this congregation that is worthy of your energy and give to it, either your time, your money, or your hopes, or your ideas. Plant a seed and hope something grows. We all benefit from those who have come before us. When Joshua led the people into the Holy Land, he quoted God saying, "I gave you land on which you had not labored, and cities that you had not built, and you dwell in them. You eat of the fruit of vineyards and olive orchards that you did not plant." When we think of all the things in our lives that we have just happened upon, or just the blessing of being able to find a jar of olives at the store, and knowing that they might have been picked around by people who are not as fortunate as you, you have to be grateful to these people who have traveled for miles to come to this country and pick olives for you. For you. And we also choose to do things that will benefit people who will outlive us. Rabindranath Tagore is reported to have said, "The one who plants trees, knowing that he will never sit in their shade, has at least started to understand the meaning of life." I mean, whenever we look at a tree, we can have gratitude and hope. I am grateful for the light that shines through bare trees during this season of reduced light. And I hope that tree is alive. I am grateful for the beautiful flowers of spring. And I hope this pharmacy has my allergy prescription. I am grateful for the green leaves of summer, and I hope it's cooler in the shade. And I'm grateful for the fall harvest, but I hope this apple doesn't have a worm in it. And even if that tree is dead, a dead log in the woods has so much life in it. Green moss and ivy and perhaps a honeybee hive. And always the nutrients that are returning to the soil. A legacy of life given to the forest. Every moment can be experienced with gratitude and hope. It can add a level of spirituality to present emotions. When one is sad, one can be grateful for what has been lost. One can remember the blessings of the past. One can hope for a pathway through grief. And one can hope for the ability to see that blessings continue. And be grateful for anger. It's an alarm that tells you that something is wrong. And be grateful that you have the faculty to tell that something is right from wrong. It seems that so many in this world have lost that faculty. Seeking justice gives one a goal, and one who has a goal has hope. Hope exists even when fear is overwhelming. The instinct to survive kicks in. The heart quickens, adrenaline surges. Be grateful for a body that is responsive. Fear plus hope equals courage. I mean, there's no need to be brave if one's not afraid in the first place. But fear shakes us. Fear shakes us out of our complacency. When our lives or the lives of others, when our rights or the rights of others are threatened, we realize we must act. We organize, we vote, and we try to save others, and in doing, save ourselves. This week, our nation celebrates Thanksgiving. Like all years, we can find despair in our current situation. War, disease, political unrest mar the blessings of the day. But unless we seek out, unless we look for and celebrate the good, it'll become unknown to us, and it might even disappear. The history of Thanksgiving is also disturbing. Land theft, genocide, peoples who were sacrificed for the benefit of others. We cannot change the past, yet recognizing the horrible truth is our only hope to be freed from it, and our only hope to build a better future. We hope that future Thanksgivings, more people will have more reasons to be grateful. But even if hope is lost, even in the midst of despair, we can be changed by thanksgiving. Being grateful just for being gives us hope. When Walden went out to the woods, he said he wanted to live a real life. And if it be mean, let me suck the meanness out of the marrow. Just that miracle that we're here, that we can even experience anything, even bad experiences, are rich. As a songwriter, I have about 4 or 5 happy songs. Most songwriters, because when you're happy, you're too busy to play a guitar or do something. You're out having fun. It's when you're sad and you're alone in your room and you hit those strings and you kind of cry out in pain. And it's like, so some of my best moments in my life have been bad moments. So I leave you with this poem of Walt Whitman, which begins pretty depressingly, which is odd for Walt Whitman, but his general joy in life can't hold that depression for too long. It's a song, a poem of woe called, "Oh me, oh life. Oh me, oh life, of the questions of these reoccurring, of the endless trains of the faithless, of cities filled with the foolish, of myself forever reproaching myself. For who is more foolish than I, and who more faithless? Of eyes that vainly crave the light, of the object's mean, of the struggle ever renewed, of the poor results of all, of the plotting and sordid crowds I see around me, of the empty and useless years of the rest, with the rest, me, intertwined. The question, oh me, so sad recurring, what good amid these, oh me, oh life? Answer, that you are here, that life exists, an identity, that the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. Let us all be able to contribute a verse to this great story, this epic poem, which is the life of ourselves, our family, our nation, our world, our universe. We each get to contribute a verse. With gratitude and hope, may we bless and be blessed.